Good morning. It's Tuesday and welcome to Writer's Chat. We are so glad you're here with us live. And if you're watching on the recording via our YouTube channel, thank you so much for doing that. We have a really fun day planned out for you today. And by the way, I'm Norma Poor and I'm joined by my co-host, let me try that one again. I was trying to mix Brandy and Melissa together. Let's try that again. I'm joined by my co-hosts, Brandy Bro and Melissa Stroh. As you can tell, we don't stand on formality around here. Just want to say welcome to everyone this morning, and I'm going to turn this meeting over to Melissa.
Good morning, everybody. Yep, yeah. If we were standing on precedence or formality, we would fail terribly, especially if you leave it to me. But I am super excited to share a new guest with you today, Emily-Kate, and I just had a brief kind of encounter meeting on a shared platform that we both love, Author Social, through novel marketing. And I happened to notice her talking about her upcoming podcast that she has launched, and I would just automatically just shout it out at me like, yes, this is something authors and writers and industry professionals need. And so I had to connect with her, and through chatting, I invited her to join us today. And so I'm very excited to hear more about what she's going to share. But before I do that, just in case you aren't familiar with Emily-Kate, I'm going to give you a little introduction to her and her bio. Emily-Kate Crnko is a fantasy writer, painter, and podcaster who writes feel-good, quirky adventures for all the old souls out there. She hosts Quill Pro Quo, a video podcast spotlighting the creative process behind publishing, where she asks all the questions writers usually save for group chats. On Book Goose, she reviews books for readers who like their stories atmospheric, hopeful, and lightly supervised by a kooky aunt. And I love that. So I'm excited to have her here on today, and I hope you enjoy this as she shares with us about the Quill Pro Quo podcast and how it serves writers. So welcome, Emily-Kate. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I've been able to see quite a few episodes of Writer's Chat, so I'm just so excited to be on the opposite side. Wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank you
we're
for all y'all do. I love many of your interviews. It's an exciting thing that you're doing.
awesome. I'm glad to hear that. So I guess we just kind of turn it loose to you. Can you tell us about Quill Pro Pro, how you got into that? What led you to create it?
Yeah, I just wanted to create a podcast name that was really difficult to say. I wanted everyone to just stumble on it. I wanted a challenge every single episode to say Quill Pro Quo. And so I just enjoy torment, I guess. But yes, Quill Pro Quo is a video podcast showcasing talented people in publishing and the author projects that they bring to life. So we're talking editors, illustrators, cover designers, interior designers, marketers, narrators. And so we're really focusing on the partnership with the author project, and showing how collaboration actually can make books better. Once you bring that creative in, once you know the creative person, and once you bring that creative entity in, I have found that usually it can make the project better, or it can make it worse, depending on who you're partnering. Publishing is a team sport, and I just once I so I am kind of approaching this new turning in my life of becoming an author, and I couldn't find this content. How do you find an excellent narrator? How do you negotiate with a cover designer? What does the communication look like back and forth? And who is doing it really well? Who is finding and pulling out the best they can out of their editors? I wanted to see, because connection is very complex. Partnerships are very complex. So I am a scientist by trade. I've only just recently really tried to focus on my writing. And so I am trying to approach this as every single episode we look at one author project, a real life project where the author is trying to reach a certain goal. And then we treat it as a case study. We're trying to see what they're doing well, what the missteps were. And so that's the general premise. I'm trying to feature the partnerships. And so by kind of a result of that is that authors can tune in each, it's every 2 weeks, they can tune into the podcast and they can kind of shop for talent that's out there, whether they're looking for a narrator, or they're looking for an interior designer, or they're looking for an illustrator that's just starting out. And yes, they're a bit green, but they're talented and they care about authors. Even if an illustrator is just starting out, but if someone is demonstrating that they actually care about the work that they're doing and they care about author projects, then, kind of the sky's the limit. Who cares if they're a little green? So that's the Quill Pro Quo in a nutshell, in a really big nutshell, a coconut nutshell.
So you're fairly new to it. I mean, I think the last time we chatted, you said that you were just getting ready to launch some of the first episodes. It's like, how far in? Have you done that yet, or are you still kind of
Yes,
going?
so I've recorded 5 episodes now, and you try and bank up some episodes before you launch, because YouTube has to kind of learn who to give the videos to. So it's good to give it a lot of content up front, so it can kind of help find our people. So far I have interviewed an award-winning narrator. Sean Pratt has recorded close to 2,000 audiobooks. He has been doing voice narration for almost 30 years, and he teamed up with a debut indie author, and they got nominated for a SoBoss Award. And also they paired up in a lot of interesting ways within their Kickstarter. That narrator also kind of served as a bit of a mentor because his heart's in it. And so Sean Pratt kind of took Stephen A. Googlich, so he's a fantasy writer, kind of by the hand, and he said, "Hey, we need to apply for awards. We need you. You really need to make me a part of the Kickstarter so we can pull people in." Also, I've interviewed some debut authors who have just started their Kickstarter. So I think we've all kind of seen the reticence of authors not wanting to start a Kickstarter. Do I have a big enough newsletter yet? A newsletter pool yet? Can you even do a Kickstarter if you're debut? If I haven't done very much marketing before a Kickstarter, is this something that is even doable? And so I interviewed 2 debut indie authors that did Kickstarters, and they did them well. On average, I think both between the 2 of them, they funded in around 30 minutes, and they reached all their goals, including they had tons of stretched goals. They really had a number in mind after being funded on Kickstarter. And through that episode, we looked at stats. Where did you start? Exactly how many backers did you get? How quickly did you fund? And how big was your newsletter? By the way, both of those debut authors had an email newsletter of about 250. So 300 is kind of in my head. It was just a little bit between 250 and 300. And they funded in 20 minutes. Of course, they were only asking, I think on the average between those was about 600 to fund. But that's you're getting the door in. You're getting your foot in the door. So I've also interviewed a brand new illustrator. She is a college student and she has raw talent. She's going to make a splash, but she's new. And but one author kind of found her, they partnered together, and she's got a lot of love for authors and for books. She read the entire book with the author. They went back and forth and did this fun type of iteration where the illustrator was actually influencing the author on fashion and the way that the magic system even looked. So while the author was writing this fantasy novel, the illustrator was actually kind of giving some direction, and it brought a lot of life to the project. It was just so obvious. So there's a few more, but those are some of the highlights, the ones that come off the top of my head. I've also interviewed an editor. I have possibly Jeff Brown, the famous cover designer. I've been talking with him. I'm really trying to he says he's interested. So hopefully we'll see him on the show, because Jeff Brown is doing wonderful things for cover design.
Awesome. So what is your process for like seeking out guests and on both sides, writers, authors, and industry professionals? How does that look?
Yeah. So I'm looking for authors that are doing at least one thing really well. And and of course, this can mean that they're making a splash, that this is just obvious. Their cover design is marketable and genre signaling, and finding that really fine and walking that really fine line of looking good in a thumbnail and also being beautiful. So maybe I find an author that's doing that really well. Sure, they can come on the show. Absolutely. But what we're often finding is that authors are finding very creative workarounds. They're finding new ways to partner with creatives, new ways to partner with narrators to zhuzh up their Kickstarter, new ways of partnering with illustrators to create supplemental market content for their Kickstarters. Whether it's like coloring pages that would actually come with your order whenever you back on Kickstarter. So I'm looking for the creators that are also a little bit entrepreneurial in spirit, and they're teaming up with authors to make the project better. And so that's a good quick answer. But as far as who I'm looking for, often I've found that authors aren't really knowing that they do something very well. They're too close to it. So if you were even remotely interested in coming on the show and having your project be featured, your novel, your memoir, I'm open to nonfiction, then fill out the contact form. And what we do is we just have a quick get to know you chat. And you don't have to be on the show at the end of the chat. There's no pressure, but I just kind of poke around and see what you're really doing well, or an approach you've made, or something that authors just need to know in your creative process.
Mm-hmm.
So often authors just kind of don't know exactly what we could feature, and we get on a call and we figure it out. And sometimes an author needs more time. They haven't really found their magic sauce for the particular novel that they're working on, or the anthology that they're working on right now. But that chat kind of lays a groundwork for what I'm looking for, or what we could focus on. And they take that with them, and they come back around.
Awesome. How about you, Brandy? Do you have any questions you'd like to?
Yeah, I was wondering, are there any types of writing that you will not feature on your show?
Yes. Oh, I have already had to turn away a prospective guest. I was so excited to possibly feature this narrator. I had been a fan of hers for many years, I've purchased many of her books. So naturally, when I started a podcast, I reached out to this narrator and I said, tell me about your favorite author project, the one that really you still think about to this day and you had a really good time on. Come on the show and let's talk about where y'all started, the missteps, the trade-offs, the wins. Tell me everything. Like, take me from the beginning. And how did y'all iterate? How did y'all work together to get a fantastic audiobook? Because all of her audiobooks were fantastic. And sure enough, she says, oh, I know exactly who I want to come on the show. She gave me the name. And I've loved this narrator for many years. I almost didn't even look it up, but it was very dark erotica. And there were so many warnings on there. There were so many acronyms on there. I had to do some research. I had to go to the edges of the web to even figure out what some of these warnings meant. So I did have to write that email that sometimes we all have to write that says this is not in alignment with the type of content that I want to feature. So of course we're not going to be doing erotica of any kind. But other than that, I haven't bumped up against any walls so far. So there are 3 types of episodes too. I want to make sure we talk about this. The first 2 types, they kind of fall into case study. We're either looking back on a relationship, maybe even it's a year ago, but you paired with a cover designer and you just kind of had magic happen. So the author and the narrator, or the author and the cover designer, the author and the editor will look back on a project that went really well. So that's fun. We go down memory lane on that one and we talk about the things that we learned. And then the other type of case study is we're looking at what the author is doing right now. Maybe they're in the works. My last episode that I recorded, an author and an illustrator were prepping for a Kickstarter. So we got to show the pre-launch page. We got to show the, what's it when you allow for a Kickstarter page to be seen early and you can get feedback on Kickstarter?
I'm actually not sure.
That's a good question, because I've never done a Kickstarter, so I'm still learning about all of that as well.
In fact, some of our viewers may be slightly unfamiliar with what a Kickstarter is. You want to give just a brief
perfect.
synopsis of that?
So Kickstarter is a third-party platform that allows authors to essentially get pre-orders before launch. So you would use Kickstarter as part of your launch strategy, typically. But also it could be that after you've launched, you loop back around to Kickstarter to release a special edition and to kind of create more butterflies around a project.
The momentum.
So, but Kickstarter is a place where readers can come and take a look at your project that you are, the novel that you are offering, and you're going to have really on point illustrations to bring it in. You're going to record a video that gives a behind the scenes. So Kickstarter is taking the wall between authors and readers and it's breaking it down. It's creating lots of links. Authors are talking in real time. Authors are constantly posting throughout the campaign while backers can back to kind of say, hey, this book needs to be in the world and I'll prove it to you. I'm going to tell you all about it. You get to see the characters, you get to see the illustrations. And the videos that do best are the ones that are most authentic. You just grab a phone, you just talk to your readers. So it's kind of doing a lot what BookTube is doing, what Book Talk is doing, what social media is doing to a certain extent, where authors can create content and actually interact with their audience. Yeah. Did I miss anything?
David
No,
was
that
helping us
sounds
out,
pretty
and he made
good.
I was just to
Yeah.
say that David helped out in the chat. He said probably a Kickstarter preview or pre-launch page is what we're probably looking for term-wise.
Yes. Yeah, we actually did
Review.
an episode, a writer's chat episode on Kickstarters a few years back, but it's been a little bit since we've talked about it. We always have new viewers, so sometimes people aren't familiar. I think that was a pretty good synopsis.
Yeah. Good. Cool.
Overview,
Yes.
better word.
Yeah. If you're an author, if there's any authors out there in this chat, um, if you're an author, look into Kickstarter. So the head of publishing, Oriana Leckert, she actually is doing lots of interviews on YouTube. So for prepping for that episode that I did with the two debut authors, that proved you can do a Kickstarter with only 200 to 300 newsletter subscribers. You don't have to be an established author. For that episode, I took every interview with Oriana Leckert, the head of publishing at Kickstarter, meaning she oversees all the author projects that get launched on Kickstarter. And I made transcripts out of every single interview that she's done in the last year, anything that I could find. And I essentially made a master list of stats. One of them that is very interesting: if you can just get over 25 backers, you are 50% likely to fund. If you can reach past 25 backers, and the reason for this is because most likely those first 25 are relatives, fans of you personally, not necessarily fans of the project. If you can just get past 25, you're already at the 50% mark that you are no, I'm so sorry, I am misspeaking. You're most likely to fund if you can just get past 25. And another stat that is really interesting is, well, actually, and since I don't have my stats in front of me, I'm now a little nervous to say them. But so that's something we'll share on the show. If I have to research a topic to supplement the story of this author and this creator, then I'm going to really give it my all, and we're gonna share as much info as possible on the show in the intro and outro as well. So
that makes me wonder, how much time do you spend on average prepping for each show? Because it sounds like quite a bit.
I can tell you, after the show, editing takes about 12 hours sometimes because I'm so new. Yeah. If anyone out there knows a affordable YouTube editor, just reach out to me. I am willing to start outsourcing some of that work. But as far as prep for an episode, I would say roughly about 5 hours. That was the deepest research I had to do. But, I'm leveraging my own research as an author. I might as well, if I'm doing all these deep dives, I might as well be publishing them and sharing them, because we're all in this together, fighting the Netflix, fighting, I don't know, what do people even watch these days? I'm so out of touch.
That's a good question.
So how do you balance? How are you balancing this video podcast and all the work you have to do with that with your writing?
Yeah. You remember when Melissa asked me, or the last time me and Melissa checked in, and I was like, yeah, I'm just about to publish my first episode. I still haven't. I still haven't published that first episode. So I think that if anyone out there in the chat is interested in making content, know that with YouTube, the pressure is off on how often you make content. With podcasting, it's a little bit different. I actually had dinner with Dave Jackson. He is uh, the father of podcasting in a lot of ways. He would never call himself that, but he is a big source on how to make a successful podcast. He's been doing it for a very long time. And he was saying that for a podcast, you really, really need to become part of your audience's lives. You need to have that schedule. Hey, we meet kind of like y'all do. We meet every Tuesday. Come and join us. We're in this together kind of thing. With YouTube, it's a little bit different because you can just post once a month and the algorithm is working for you. And so as long as it's longer content, and it's good content, that has a lot of information per minute, then you'll be okay. So, I've got 5 episodes under my belt. I could quit recording for another 5 months if I just wanted to release 1 a month. My goal is about 2 a month. Because I do enjoy it. I love talking with authors about what they've done well and meeting the person that they're working with, because the narrators and the illustrators, of course, they do also come on the show. And we have a segment at the end. What do they wish more authors knew? If they could just, because they see patterns in us. So if they could just get all authors to start kind of realizing a certain thing to save time, to save money, what would that be? Oh, but I didn't talk about the third episode type. Okay, so the third episode type, I have actually yet to record this type, and I am so excited about it. And we need it. We need it out there on the YouTube. So when it comes, it's going to be fantastic. But the third type of episode content is, I don't know if anyone out there has ever seen Sky Art's Portrait Artist of the Year. It is a show, and you can find it on YouTube. They've got whole episodes on YouTube. But it's a very interesting show because they take 3 different artists, 3 different creatives, and they bring them on the show and they give them a competition. And so it's actually any readers that want that behind the scenes content. Number one, that's going to be very entertaining to them. A real author. So in this episode, a real author comes on for the episode and they say, okay, I've got this historical romance that I'm working on. Here are the market traits of the book. This is what I'm picturing. 3 cover designers are sitting in front of her or him, and we say, take a whack at it. Let's see what you got. So then the episode, they go away, they do their, they make sure they have some kind of content to come back with. Of course, we would want to always be respectful of the creative's time, but they come back and we see all the 3 different approaches to the one concept. So essentially it still is doing a case study, but you're getting a behind the scenes on the audition process, right? Because it is very entertaining. I'm sure I love talking with my author friends about, say they're auditioning editors, and they approach this editor, this editor, this editor, and this one pulled out something really special, and this one pulled out something really special, and it's so fun to compare. So it should be very entertaining for authors as well, not just dry content of, these are some stats, very useful stats, but we get to look into the partnership, into the human entity of how someone worked together, the story of that. and then hopefully that type of episode will be very entertaining. But I think some illustrators, they're just a little nervous. No one's wanting to go first. There's been a lot of interest from editors, cover designers, illustrators, but everyone's like, no, I don't want to go first. So
Proof that we all have those inhibitions, whether it's the author or the industry professional. It's like, I don't know. How will I approach this? Yeah. Yeah. I could see that being very beneficial for all of us that are in that position. I mean, even if you're approaching it, say, as an indie author jumping out, not knowing what to try first or how to go about it, to kind of have that curtain pulled back and to see, oh, I guess it's not as scary as I thought it would be, to help them take that first step.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. And because it's a video podcast too, we live in this age of video podcast. You can actually see the illustrations. You can see the edited content. Maybe if we like compare copy edits, and you can actually see the content. So I'm actually a little worried that the content won't translate very, very well to audio podcasts. So it won't be something maybe that you could listen to on your Apple Podcast. But yeah, that's okay. Can't win them all.
Yeah. Well, and that goes down to the whole narrowing it down to your niche, your audience, who you're serving. So you've got yours figured out, and all of the rest of us have to do that same thing. Where can I shine and where should I shy away? Because that's going to be more of a drain than a positive influence on my readership and on my project.
Yeah. Yeah. So Quill Pro Quo seems to be at the center of a 3-part Venn diagram. Quill Pro Quo is right here between authors that want to celebrate their projects. They want to share about doing something really well. They want to create content that, okay, so if we're real here, the majority of the audience in a video podcast like this, it is going to be authors. So one of my questions that I might have at the end is, how many people out there in the chat are actually concerned about doing podcasts that are author facing and not reader facing? So I would love to talk about that. But the point is that they are, with a podcast like this, you're creating behind the scenes content, and you are actually going to walk away with something that you can share with your readers about how you worked with your narrator, the voice that they are listening to while they're doing the dishes, the voice that they pair up with for 20 hours. And your novel is coming through the lens of this person. Your novel is primordially being delivered to your reader through another person. That is a very intimate bond there. So I would want that relationship and the goals and the trade-offs and the wins. I would want that content. And I've always wanted that content as a reader. I wanted to know, I'm sure you'll all, you find a audiobook that you absolutely love. It's magic. And I've found authors just through narrators before. I love that narrator. And so I'm like, any book that narrator reads, Audible lets you do that. It lets you filter by the narrator themselves. Well, the point is that I know that the podcast is author facing, but this part of the Venn diagram is very important, where you can actually showcase what you're doing well and get that behind the scenes content. Yeah. Okay. So the other two pieces of the Venn diagram are the publishing professionals that want to pair with authors and want to get what they can do out. And of course, there's word of mouth, and that's what we're all relying on. This is just kind of word of mouth on steroids. So we're actually coming in. You can almost, by the end of the episode, you can tell if you'd vibe, gel with that publishing professional, so it's a fantastic little spotlight on that publishing professional. So authors who are wanting to shop for publishing professionals, then you tune in to Quill Pro Quo. And then the last one is, and this is a smaller piece of the Venn diagram, but those readers who want to actually see behind the scenes content on how one of their favorite novels was actually made.
Awesome. So, for like an author or a publishing professional who wanted to try out being a part of your show, what's kind of like that behind the scenes process like for them? How would they go about that?
Yeah. So first step, if anyone is interested, they would need to figure out what kind of episode that they would want to do. So I mentioned the 3. Go ahead and kind of have like which one. So if you have a creative that you loved working with, obviously you do a case study. But I'm also looking for authors that are currently auditioning and they have a need and they can't find the talent. So in that instance, we do the challenge type episode where we get them in front of 3 different professionals and we get to see how it goes. So if you kind of know what episode you might be interested in and what avenue you want to go down, then you go to my website, Emily-Kate-Creative.com, and just fill out that contact form. And then you'll get a link. You'll get the guest guide. As soon as I get that contact form, you can pick any of the contact forms that you see on my website. Just fill them out. Say you're interested in Quill Pro Quo. Tell me the type of episode that you think you'd want to do, and already I'll shoot you back the guest guide. And that it's 5 pages, it's true, but it's going to tell you everything that you might possibly want to know about being on the show, so you feel comfortable. And then if you want to go over it with me, you hit the link, you get on my calendar, and we'll do a short chat to learn about your project and figuring out what that thing is that you're doing really well. And again, you probably don't know it. I'll go ahead and share really quick a story if we have time. Do we have time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I was talking with an author, and she thought she was going to share about her editor. She just knew she loved working with her editor, and she had a fantastic book cover. It wasn't something that, oh my gosh, this was the best book cover I've ever seen. Who knows what that book cover is even, but it was a good, solid book cover. And then I found out that she and one graphic designer made it. It was a homemade book cover. And of course, she didn't do it all on her own, because that is shortcutting, and that is not believing in your project, and that is a handicap. But what she did do is she partnered with people in a different way than we typically partner with. And so what she did is she took photos of her daughter, of a cityscape. She got all of the content that she needed together. And then she just handed it over at the very end to a graphic designer. He does not even do websites, but he layered the photos, and she worked out the composition for herself. Because composition, by the way, is very important. It's how much negative space, how much space objects take up on a cover is composition. And so once she figured out how to do that and get a very marketable composition, meaning there was one primary image that would signal to the reader, you're home, you're safe, come here. Then she just handed it over to the graphic designer. He layered them. these photos that she took, they didn't have to be awesome photos because that the colors change. And she made a homemade cover. So we looked at featuring that book cover. So that's one example. And I don't even remember what the question was. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was just basically the process, like what can they expect from the back end? What's it going to look like when they approach you about being on the show?
Oh gosh, okay. Wow, I really rabbit holed, didn't I?
But that
Okay,
was still
yeah, so
good.
back to that. We go to the guest guide, and then if we have a clear path forward, we reach out to the person you want to partner, you partnered with, and we make sure that they're on board, and then we do one guest guide. Well, the guest guide call, I try to get everyone there so everyone's good, and then we record. And then that 12-hour editing process starts for me.
How about you, Brandy? Do you have any other thoughts or questions you wanted to add?
I was wondering if all of your guests are through video, like they're on their own video and you're in yours, or if you have them actually in person with you when you record.
Oh, I would love to have people in person. I know no author, no writer in well, I do finally know one in the state of Louisiana, but I don't have any writer friends that are local, and I'm sure we're all out that like that on our lonely little islands.
Yeah, some are in person. They're able to get people in, and others they have to do the individuals. So I was just kind of curious if and if you were doing the individuals, if you were hoping at some point to maybe have people in-house with you someday.
Yes, of course. Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be the dream. But we just meet on in my virtual studio, and a lot of connection can still be fostered that way. So if anyone out there is, considering podcasting, I would encourage them to do it, because the world isn't like it was even 10 years ago, not 5 years ago, but 10 years ago, where you live and die by likes. You live and die by subscribers. Oh, no, I'm going to have a few hundred ride or die people that are there to actually learn how to communicate better with their marketers, how to learn how to communicate better with their editors, and look open to the nuances of different approach. And everyone wants to know the human element behind a creative project. Everyone wants to know that. That's why Kickstarter is taking the world by storm, is because you actually feel like you are bringing a book that needed to be brought into the world. You're putting that butterfly on the barren branch. You're supporting an author. You know where your money is going. So people love behind the scenes content. Anyone who is possibly looking at podcasting, what you could do is if you're a learner, if you're a lifelong learner, which usually authors are, your books are only as good as how fast you can learn. Well, then why not leverage some of your learning, share it, post it. And I know I'm being a little silly about the 12 hours of editing. That is to start off. That is learning a new software. That's figuring
you
things
become
out.
more efficient over time as you learn how to do things quicker, easier. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're getting closer to the top of the hour, but before maybe we invite people to come on and ask questions in person, is there anything else you'd like to bring up or discuss before we loose our audience on you?
Yeah. I'm excited about it. And I have a few questions for the audience. Let's see. I think I wrote down a few things. You do not have to be published to come on Quill Pro Quo. Don't even worry about that if that's the case for anyone out there. if you are working on your debut and you're pairing with a publishing professional and you think the world could learn from the partnership that you've made, um, come on, come on. This is a good thing to do because your episode would gain traction, maybe over the next 6 months. And if you're launching even a year from now, that's what is fantastic about YouTube is the content is evergreen. That algorithm is going to be pushing this content maybe 5-10 years from now. And I know because that's what shows up on my feed. So it's a worthwhile thing to do, even if you're not published. Let's see, is there anything else? I think it should be clear, or hopefully it's clear by now, like how this podcast is a little bit different from others, but hopefully y'all have seen that. I know that authors do not necessarily need just general direction. I think we all know what we should be doing, or we often know what is the next step in our marketing plan or what is the next step in our publication plan. We know the direction that we need to go, what we need to do. That information is out there. But I was really trying to create content that gave visibility into the process. Like, what does an author actually need to give to an illustrator first meeting to make sure that we're off to the races, to really kind of figure out if this is your person or not. Let's talk about those early conversations, and let's talk about potential workarounds if your budget is tight, things like that. What were the budget workarounds for y'all's project when you interview a partnership? So I'm trying to give visibility to the partnership and visibility to the process of how they actually did it, though. How did y'all do it? Okay, yeah, so that was my last one. And we're trying to highlight the creative approach. Just last thing about AI, I think it's more important than ever to actually figure out why it's so important to partner with humans. Okay, so just really quickly, I want to drive this home. I have now interviewed dozens of people in trying to get these episodes off the ground. And I am telling you, as soon as you partner with a human, a creative human, you get them on your team. So my debut novel is called The Teacup Wars. I am going to have to assemble a team, and my readers are only going to get to me and read my words if they sign up for my illustrator, if they sign up for my cover designer. And so I need very good people on my team. And as soon as you source that out to AI, which no shame, if that's what you need to do it and do it well. But that's just one less person that's on your team, one less person that's helping you iterate, and one less person that has resources, because narrators, they pull for the novels that they narrate. That is what I have found as I have interviewed them over and over again. Narrators are willing to create social media content for you to go on your Kickstarter, to convince people that this was a phenomenal effort, where we were gasping as we crossed the finish line, and we'll prove it to you. So that's just one less person on your team. If you can actually get humans on your team, there is this, phenomenal thing that happens with community. When you're shoulder to shoulder, you become stronger. So, I know the temptation is always going to be there. AI is always going to be knocking at the door and competing for human contribution. But I like my podcast because it's focusing on that magic that happens when you get another perspective. Okay. Promise I'll be quiet. Well, and we can take questions.
Yeah, that's I think that's good advice in partnering with flesh and bone versus circuitry. Why don't we invite everybody else back on? And while people are coming on, I have a question for you. And that is, what kind of expenses do you typically need to put out to begin a podcast?
Yeah. $30 a month for a studio. Because if you have multiple people on, you want the studio to record individual tracks of video and audio, so that saves you time and effort in editing. So you'll need about $30 a month. Now, you can get that for free. You can get it for free. And if you need to start off and scale, the cost of entry is about $0. Do not worry about a fancy camera. Do not worry. And this is straight from Dave Jackson too. Dave Jackson, you remember the wonderful guru of podcasting. He has the School of Podcasting. Go check him out on YouTube. He said that the biggest thing that you need to figure out, the big cost that you need to figure out is what type of subscriber you want to attract. What type of subscriber is going to click on your videos, and then what do you want them to do about it afterwards? Where do you want them to go afterwards? And so you can get a $50 mic if you'd like, but really with the editing software out there, you know, a lot of the podcasters are saying you need a mic. Nah. If you want a mic, sure, do it later. It'll be fun. It'll make editing like a little bit easier. But with AI editing these days, you usually just click a button and all your audio is fixed. Start a podcast. Just try it. Just put it up. It's a little time consuming if you want things to be kind of perfect, which I think is what I'm struggling with. But
so where do you get your $30 per month studio? What avenue is that through?
That is through Riverside. Riverside has editing, AI support after you record. And so they're going to charge you the $30 for it. But you can go to Zencastr, you can sign up for free, and you can edit on free software like DaVinci Resolve. And you're off to the races. DaVinci Resolve is just manually heavy. So I pay for Riverside the $30 a month, so I can just click a button and a lot of the editing is done.
So theoretically, if you're going with the other, you could be spending more than 12 hours to edit?
Most people say that for every 10 minutes, you need to budget an hour. Just kind of clipping out uhs and thes and things. I don't know about that. I do a lot of supplemental content, like where I come on and I'm like, by the way, let's do some facts, you know, and I give facts. And so my approach is a little bit too ambitious. It's too ambitious. I could have gotten out episodes a long time ago. But I was aiming for a certain thing. But if you want to just think about, you know, this interaction, people don't care if there's ums. This is kind of a parasocial world that we live in. You're coming on YouTube to get a parasocial connection. You know, it's not quite social, but it's almost.
Permission to be human here.
Yep. And as long as you have some vulnerability, don't plan to show up with armor on. Nope. Nobody will watch you, I promise. But vulnerability, yeah. And vulnerability in a story, you're off to the races. Just hit record. I start off every single one of my episodes with me saying, just hit record. Just do it.
Nice. I love that. Well, anybody else? Would you like to chime in and ask questions? I haven't scrolled through the chat to see if there were any that were posted by others. But yeah, if somebody has a question, pop it in or chime in, raise your hand.
We did have somebody asking, what is the name of your fantasy story?
Yeah, my debut fantasy novel, which is supposed to hit Kickstarter in the spring, is The Teacup Wars. And it is a cozy fantasy caper that features enchanted heirlooms, so lots of magical antiques, simmering feuds with high society, magical families, and a granny with very sticky fingers. We've got a kleptomaniac granny in there. And of course, there's the kooky aunt. You have to have the kooky aunt in there. So
Okay. And everyone being shy. I'm not seeing anyone pop in with questions.
well, I have a question. While we wait for more questions to come in. Okay, I have a question for everyone.
Go for it.
So remember my question, I had kind of already asked it. What concerns does anyone, as far as becoming a podcast guest, becoming a guest on Quill Pro Quo, what concerns does anyone in the chat have about coming on to a podcast that is author facing? So it's not reader facing completely. There will be readers in the audience, but it's mainly author facing.
If you're on screen, go ahead and chime in. Pam.
I actually don't have a concern about that because I think it's unique and different enough and kind of feels like it's ground level and be very cool to get in and ride the wave with you. Just saying. I think it's a great idea. Yeah.
I do have a lot of guilt though, because I'm really trying to support the authors that come on. I want them to get their project out because I see it. I see what they're doing. And sometimes I feel guilty, like, oh, well, why didn't I make this more of a reader facing podcast?
No, I think you're good because we get told as authors all the time to think outside the box and there's nothing new under the sun. How can you tell the same thing in a new and fresh way? And this is what you're doing. And we need connections. We need networking. We need to know how to do stuff better. All of that is just going to help us when our books come out. So I don't think you need to have any guilt on that. I think that you've got something unique and that's going to support every aspect because you're just starting. It's going to grow. It's going to, it's going to morph into whatever it's going to be alive. It's going to, the more people you interview and have on your podcast and all and you're going to learn, you're going to see what the needs are and everything. No, I think no guilt. You're good.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say Pam, that makes me, go ahead, Melissa.
Go ahead. No, go
well,
ahead.
That makes me think of an interview. That makes me think of an interview, what Pam was just saying, an interview that I just saw with Joe Hudson. So if anyone, he's not rooted in the Christian tradition, unfortunately, but he's very friendly to it. Mm-hmm. So Joe Hudson is a coach who coaches the billionaires that run the world. And he is not what you expect at all. But anyways, that's all I'm going to say. He is not what you expect. Well, I just recently watched an interview where he was talking about how learning is now completely different. We're now going back to ancient type learning, where no longer is it how much can you memorize. You go to school and you memorize equations. You go to school, you memorize facts. Nope, those days are over. An AI can do it better. An AI can always memorize facts. So just over the last 100 years, humanity has been how much can you memorize? And of course, it was before that since the Gutenberg press, it's how much can you memorize facts. But now it's how connected are you? And how wise are you? How many patterns can you spot? And how connected are you? That is what being human now is. All the big wigs in the world, they're going to have to relearn, how to really foster connections and how to really spot patterns. And so I think this podcast is at the heart of that, getting publishing professionals and authors more connected
Mhm.
and spotting patterns with how they're working together.
I will say for Christians, memorizing is extremely important, though, because your word I hid
True.
in my heart
Hidden
that
in
I
my
might not
heart.
sin
Yep.
against you. And those that are outside the Christian faith will not have that perspective. But we
Yeah.
as Christians need to internalize the word of God and then live it out.
Yeah, Proverbs says, write it on the tablet of your heart. Write it on the tablet of your heart.
AI
Jot it down.
cannot do that for us.
Mm-mm.
So, yeah. And out of
No,
the
and
abundance of the heart, the mouth
the mouth
speaks.
speaks. And you were
Mhm.
talking about like teamwork and all before. And first thing I thought of was iron sharpens iron, which I put in the chat. But Ecclesiastes 4:9, two are better than one.
Yeah.
Because if you fall down, your friend can help you up. And
Yeah.
I love the explanation of why are we looking for,
Yeah.
human pairings in on our team over AI. And it's
Yeah.
just for those reasons. We need
Yeah.
each other.
I think another thing too that we haven't touched on, though it's kind of been alluded to in this whole conversation, is the practical hands-on aspect of it. That what we see lacking so much in education today that people are craving is that hands-on, come work with me, guide me through this, help me to do it so that I can make this practical in my life and I can continue to work this out and figure it out. And so there's that partnership facilitates it so much because you have that person guiding and also giving an example, and then they can make it practical for themselves and actually do. And then that becomes a continual habit. And I
Yeah.
think that's where the real learning comes, is when it becomes practical and applicable.
Mm-hmm.
From the faith perspective as well, there is, the enemy's first tactic is to divide and conquer, because if he can isolate,
Yeah.
all I need is AI, then you lose those personal connections and it's easier to take an individual down.
Yeah. A cord of three strands is not easily
Yeah.
broken.
Mhm.
And
that's right after 4:9.
Mhm.
that's right after
Ecclesiastes
4:9.
4:10. Yeah.
Yep.
One of those strands is God.
Yeah.
And a partnership. So we can gather from that, and where two or more are gathered, there God is. So we know that there is something that is very sacred about connecting with another human, because a cord of three strands is not easily broken. There God is. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's magic. And that is what I am seeing too, because I am very AI savvy. I do a lot with it. I believe that, hey, I'm not going to be afraid. I'm not going to be afraid because I've got what I need. Well, I have loved doing these interviews because it's pushed back on temptation to stand alone, to be at the top of the hill and be strong in my loneliness, and just to be as strong as I possibly can. And no, you need other humans. They'll make your project better. I promise. They'll see things that you didn't see.
That and it's a pride. You can get very prideful, I think, if you're only on your own in AI, because how many times have, when fresh eyes look at your manuscript and say, I see some challenges, or I've seen you used, you use this, dialogue tag growled, 17 times in 4 pages like this.
Yeah.
And it can be embarrassing.
Just say said.
Right?
Just say said.
Yeah, right. And it can hit your ego and all. But that's a good thing. I need my ego hit because pride is a struggle, and you don't get that with AI. So
Yep.
If
You can
anything,
either
feed
love
it.
your readers or you can be comfortable. You can't do both. Love your readers or be comfortable.
Leslie brought up a good question from the Christian perspective. How do you protect yourself against platforms shutting down Christian content? The censorship is real, and so is AI stealing content, while also suppressing it. We know that there are some AI platforms that do tend to be biased against that. So,
Yes,
yeah.
Claude is, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Leslie is ascribing nobility to me that I have not yet even had to embody. My content is not overtly Christian. So I haven't had to. I just recently went to the novel marketing conference, and just the amount of guilt that I have. Wow, we're seeing a theme, aren't we? The amount of guilt and shame because I am not writing an overtly Christian novel. You know, oh, what? Yeah, who am I? I thought if I was going to write, why wouldn't it be overtly Christian? And I ran into someone the very first day, and she said, "You need to meet my friend." And she introduced me, and this friend, luckily, she's a middle grade author. She had a just very passionate insight to that. She said, as the world is becoming more and more polarized, either you love Christianity or you hate it. There's no middle ground anymore. Of course, that's overgeneralizing, but it's becoming more and more hyper polarized, that it's so important that Christians are able to kind of cross enemy lines a little bit. That's being over dramatic. But she's like, you're our only hope. You're the only person that can break through this conscious effort to reject a Christian worldview. And you just have to write a really, really good book that can let your worldview sing through it. And hopefully I'm doing that with my podcast as well. Hopefully I'm doing that with my book review channel as well. So that's all I can hope for.
I would encourage you again, no guilt. You are doing that. You can't help but do that. Your Christian worldview comes through because of who you are and your relationship with Christ. All of us, whether we're in your face with our Christian, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, or we're the Book of Esther, or we're cozy fantasy, or whatever it is, your worldview comes through, even if God isn't mentioned, because of how you create your characters in your world and how you have them respond to situations and hardships and bullying or whatever you're dealing with. How do they respond to that? That's where your worldview comes through. So
yeah,
be encouraged.
Yeah. And I believe it paves the path for you to then be open and to speak your worldview when it's kind of like the seed planting. You're setting it up for that point where you can reach out and then say, here, this is where I'm at. This is where God is working. And this is what I'd like for you, and share that gospel message, or share, whatever the mission is. I lost the term that I was going for. My brain just totally.
Yeah.
The message that you're trying to share. But yeah, well, we are a little past the top of the hour now, so I suppose we ought to be getting closed up. Next week, hopefully, pending on their schedule. This is going to be iffy. We're going to touch and go pending on the schedule, but we're hoping next week to have Scott and Becky Miner come on to talk about Realm Makers, this upcoming conference. That's where we're going to shoot for, so they can share what to expect at Realm Makers this year. And yeah, we would definitely invite you to come and visit with them if we can get them on. We've had them on in the past and had a blast learning about past Realmmaker conferences and what they've done. And so learned a little bit about what's in store this year in 2026. So yeah, definitely come back and join us for that. Norma, Brandy, is there anything more you'd like to add before we close out? Oh, I guess there is this. Anybody want to talk about that? We have a book chat coming up as well.
Yes. Yep. Yes. I just don't remember the date. I think it's in 2 weeks from now? Is that right?
Yeah, I think so too. So what we, for those who might not know, every now and again, we like to do a little book chat to highlight a book that you might be interested or might help you in your writing craft, or, as a writer in general. This one is called Writing with Emotion, Tension, and Conflict, and it's by Cheryl St. John. Teach you techniques for crafting an expressive and compelling novel, but nonfiction people don't check out just yet. Brandy is also planning on going through it and pulling out little gems that can apply to nonfiction writers as well. So we're hoping that we can bring some goodness to it for all of you, and that you can add this to your toolbox to help you improve as a writer.
Yep.
So yeah.
And I will say, if you enjoy Writers Chat and you want to be here live at any time, come visit us. Join our group on Facebook. We have Writers Chat members. That is where you will be able to get all of the event notices and be able to be with us in-house live, talk to guests, ask questions, and participate in the after party, which we always love. So we invite you all to come and join us. We do ask that you please answer the questions that are there that we use to screen people for membership. If you don't answer them, we cannot approve you. So please pay attention to them and answer them. And we would love to have you here with us live.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and I blanked. Did you mention the YouTube channel as well with over 300
YouTube
plus?
channel, if you're watching the replay,
Yes,
you are on our
yes.
YouTube channel. So we
So-
appreciate all of you who are here. And if you like what you see, please subscribe, share it with friends that you think it may help. And got lots of episodes, as Melissa said, over 300. So
Yeah.
lots and lots to glean from.
Well, thank you, Emily-Kate, for joining us today. We just loved hearing about Quill Pro Quo and wish you all the best with that. And yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I have a superpower, and now everyone knows it. My superpower is talking about myself for at least an hour. Whew. I am very talented at that, so I love it.
We appreciate it, and we're glad to have you on. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we hope to see you next time on Writers Chat. Bye, everyone.
Stay for the after party if you're here.